You know, Rebels, if you've been checking out some of my promotional ads on social media, you'll be aware that I have been using a lot of AI programs to help me create ads. But you know what? There's a lot more uses for AI than just funny little videos. And I'd like to introduce one of our new sponsors, Podium. It is a leader in creating AI tools for podcasters. Now, let's say you've got a podcast, or maybe you're even thinking of doing a podcast. You're probably wondering, well, how can AI be integrated with your workflow? I'll tell you about Podium. As a podcaster, you know that writing show notes and creating chapters and transcribing episodes takes a lot of time, and it can cost you a lot of money too. But you know what? That's where Podium comes in. It's an AI tool designed specifically for creators and podcasters with the goal of making post-production tasks quick and easy. And in just a few minutes, Podium generates show notes, chapters, summaries, clips for social media, a full transcript, suggested episode titles, social media posts, and more. Whew, that's a lot of work for one little program. Your show notes are key to your podcast's success because it helps new listeners find your podcast and they'll know if it's a fit for them. You know, kind of like too many podcasts. It also improves your SEO, that's your search engine optimization. Ooh, big phrase there. And overall accessibility. And with Podium, you can focus on creating a great podcast and let Podium's AI do the heavy lifting. But Podium isn't just for solo creators and podcasters. It's a game changer for editors, producers, marketers, agencies, and production studios. Teams that use Podiums are able to increase workloads, decrease turnaround times, and improve their quality. How does it work? Very easy. First, go to Podium's website, and you'll see that link that's right there in the show notes. You get 3 hours free just to try it. Pretty cool, huh? And using that link also supports this show as well. And you know what else happens? Because I'm a good guy. You use my link, you will get 50% off for your first month. So visit the site, upload an MP3 file, and download your files, and that's it. And if you need anything else, you can use Podium GPT to generate articles and any marketing copy you might need in seconds. Instant show notes, transcripts, chapters for your podcast or channel. This will level up that podcast. So check out Podium today.
The Sherpa Screening Room is a presentation of the Sherpa's podcast picks, which can be heard on podcast apps everywhere, and the Sherpa-lution YouTube page. It's where you'll hear from creators from many fields from all over the world. Now, we take you to the Sherpa Chalet, where your host, Jim the Podcast Sherpa, awaits you. Kind of like how I'm waiting to get paid for this.
On this episode of the Sherpa Screening Room, it's a visit from actor and radio personality Joe Ray. Joe portrayed Babe Ruth in a movie that was on Amazon. Oddly enough, the Sherpa has been chased by Amazon workers carrying baseball bats and spitting tobacco at him. Coincidence? You decide.
Coming to you from Sherpa Chalet in beautiful downtown Mount Podcastia, it's time for entertainment interviews in the Sherpa Screening Room. Grab an aisle seat and a bucket of popcorn, but don't crunch too loud or you'll miss the show. Now, here's your host, Jim, the Podcast Sherpa.
Hello, Rebels of the Sherpa-lution, and welcome to the Sherpa Screening Room. It is a presentation of the Sherpa's podcast picks, and I am coming to you from Sherpa-lu Studios here in the Sherpa Chalet, high atop Mount Podcastia, where we overlook the sea of thousands and millions of podcasts that are out there. But this isn't one of those podcast episodes. No, we've been hearing a lot of those. I know. We're getting to hear from the creators. When I say the creators, I mean the producers, directors, actors, singers, dancers, mimes. Well, the mimes don't say too much, but you know what I mean. The folks who don't have a podcast. Simple enough. The gentleman that I am speaking with this week has a radio show, but not a podcast. Not yet, anyway. I guess it's still early. You never know. He just may join the dark side. And his name is Joe Ray. In addition to having a radio show on AM radio, he is also an actor and also a school teacher. So providing that knowledge to our youth. Thank you very much for that, sir. So I got to spend a little bit of time with Joe and get to know him. And it was a really nice interview. And he's a super nice guy. And I think you're going to enjoy it. And I will prove it to you because we are going to listen to it right about now. Hello there, Rebels. We are here in the Sherpa Screening Room. My guest today is A mild-mannered teacher by day, but at night, he's maybe lighting up your screens in either a movie screen or a television screen. He's coming to us from beautiful Ocala, Florida. Mr. Joe Ray. Joe, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate you being here on this lovely, whatever day it is. What is today? Wednesday. Yeah, I get lost. It's all I know is it's the end of the semester. It's almost Christmas. I've got 2 days left of school, and I'm looking forward to 2 weeks off. That's where I'm at.
That's probably like the biggest point of the year for a teacher, apart from like knowing when summer vacation is coming.
Yes, that and spring break, because after Christmas break, we have it's almost like 10 straight weeks, and then we get a big spring break, and then after spring break, it's 10 more straight weeks and summer vacation. So it's a grind. So it's like we enjoy these 2 weeks, and then we've got 2 grind sessions in the second half.
So this is going to be like endurance training for you, in other words.
Oh, teaching middle school for 4 years was my boot camp. That was my endurance training. Teaching 2 years of kindergarten, my first 2 years, that was easy. Well, maybe I can't say easy. The first 3 months I taught kindergarten, I had managed teenagers and adults in a multi-million-dollar McDonald's business. I mean, it wasn't mine, but I was a manager and I could run a corporate. I could run it, and that was easier than my first 3 months of teaching kindergarten. I've had customers throw cheeseburgers at me because it wasn't right. They had ketchup, and I was like, hey, but when a 5-year-old little girl almost causes you to want to quit, I was like, wait a minute, there's something wrong here. This is backwards. And so she put her foot down, and I'm not doing it. And I was like, you're doing it. And she was contentious, and she cried. And I was like, quit crying. Was like the movie Kindergarten Cop.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I felt like. That's exactly what I felt like. And what's funny as well as teaching there, where I taught in Jersey City, New Jersey for those 2 years. Some of the people there thought I was a cop because of that movie. I was teaching kindergarten. I'm this, fresh out. I was the only white guy in my neighborhood, and when I moved there, 3 days before I got there in Jersey, it was September '93. 3 days before I got there, the neighborhood had been busted by the DEA for drugs. There was a drug bust, so they thought I was a cop because I was the white dude, the white dude. So. Yeah, and then when the drug dealer went by one day, he goes, "You're no cop." I was like, "I know." He goes, "You're a teacher." I was like, "Yeah, I know. That's what I've been saying to people." But it's interesting when you get to know your local drug dealer. That's all I can say about that. It was pretty interesting.
Yeah, they don't tend to do like Tupperware parties or anything like that. You just kind of stumble across them.
No, but if you, it's funny if you help them out, like, because we had a food bank at the church. Actually, the daycare, it was daycare / kindergarten. I was actually in a church, and I actually lived in the church for 2 years. So I was in the left loft behind the speakers, so I didn't miss very many services. I'll say that. So, okay. But yeah, I taught there, and then I went middle school when I moved to Florida, moved back to Pennsylvania. Did manage McDonald's, and then when I came down to Florida in the '99, end of this month would be 25 years. I taught 4 years. I went to school for a semester, and then just to try to get back to get some teaching certification things. But I ended up teaching at a private school for 4 years, middle school. That was my boot camp. That was so 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. It's like, I understand why Mark Twain said, take a kid when he's 12 and then take him back out when he's 18 and see what, put him in a barrel and take him back out. I understand that.
All those hormones are raging along with everything else, right?
Oh, it's like hormones, a boyfriend every other week. They broke up. We love you. Just that I love you, hate you thing. And I'm like, shut up. And then on top of that, I was the math teachers, and they hate math. If I'm bad at, you get the bad at math, don't want to do the work, crying in emotions. And now some of those kids, most of them are, they're in their, I know it's been a while, they're in their mid 30s. Wow, I'm getting old. I'm only 54. I'm not old at all. But yeah, some of those kids are in their mid-30s, and a couple of them became teachers, or three of them that I know of became teachers. And I was like, I see one of them at professional development every so often, and she's still teaching, 10 years, last 10 or 12 years. So did something. I don't know, did something right.
You at least left a good mark on them, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I found it interesting that you said that you're teaching like personal financial management to middle schoolers. How do you get through with something like that when I guess kids that age, they have $1 in their pocket, they're ready to spend it.
Right. Well, currently I'm teaching. I did teach that when I taught middle school. Well, middle school I taught 20 years ago, 2004. But I've been teaching high school. I took 2 years off to actually become a youth pastor, and I've been teaching high school since 2006. But even high school kids, right? I teach mostly juniors and seniors. Well, 80% of my students are seniors, and I'm getting them ready to become getting ready to pay their taxes to support us, Yeah. But they teaching them the value of the dollar, just the value of money and currency in general, like any currency, whether it's a skill, a trade. And I teach them that your currency is not just your money. It's you're the currency. And if you can't promote yourself, you're going to it's going to be a long life. It's going to be a tiresome trail.
Sure.
And so I teach them, basically that we start off like with budgeting, and then by the end of the year, we talk about retirement. They're like, "Oh, I'm only 18." I was like, or 16 or 17. I'm like, well, you can actually start things we didn't learn when we were in school. You can actually start putting your money into a system to make you, by the time they retire, they could retire at 59 years old with $3.5–4 million. In the system, and paying them back in annuities over time. Things I learned as I was teaching the class. And I said, but then I thought about it, I was like, teaching is a calling, or anything I think we're called to, the things that we love to do. It's kind of like we're drawn to it. Yes, it's kind of like it's a calling to that. Not even a job. We just do, things we do, and for survive or thriving, for our lives, to support ourselves. And I told the kids, I said, they said, "Why don't you a millionaire?" Well, I've been through 4 setbacks in my life. And then I had to teach them, okay, now you have to have grit to come out of that to get to the next level. It's like but I told them, if I had learned this, I said this last week, if I had learned what I am teaching, if I had learned that when I was 17 years old, 16 years old, I would have done, and I'd probably have a boring life. I would have done nothing but work, probably at McDonald's back in Maryland, because they asked me to not go to college. My boss did. Said, "Why do you?" He says, "Don't go to college. Just go work and get up in the corporation and make, $250,000 in the stock options." And I look at all that and I was like, okay, yes, but I didn't see my purpose in that long term. I just didn't see it.
Right.
Nor did I want it. I just saw it as paying bills. I said, this is, fulfill another order. It's like, this is machinery, man. This is just redundant, versus 150 students that I teach every day with their quirks and their questions, and and the challenges and the psychological games I got to play to keep their attention and keep them out of trouble, and overcome their games. So it's like, but yeah, I don't think that but their concept of money, because they just they walk up to the vending machine with their debit card, tap $2.25 or $1, whatever the price is for that bag of chips or whatever. They pay $1.25. They pay $2.25 for a Gatorade. I'm like, I've taught you how to buy in bulk, man. Go buy in bulk. So yeah, the concept is still, it's that instant gratification I got to have now and then. I'm thirsty. I'm like, because when we went to school, you weren't allowed to have nothing, not even a piece of gum in the classroom, nothing. And we'd get a sip of water out. We'd run to the water fountain in between class, get a sip. That was it. If we were lucky for that, we got it. So, but I think it's that having everything instantly available is and not being to deny or delay gratification has becoming the hard part for them because, a drink is, if I see a drink, there's a cold drink. I stopped and got one because I did an acting gig today. 79 cents. Heck yeah. And, versus free water at my house. Yeah. So, because they had raspberry iced tea. I don't have raspberry iced tea on my if I had it on tap, I'd be in trouble.
So you did mention the acting career, and I really wanted to get into that with you a little bit. So what got you into acting? How long ago?
Let's see. Well, when I was a kid in church, we had Christmas plays. I think almost every child that's going to church has been tossed into a children's play at some point. But after a while, I just got, as I'm the oldest of my dad's second marriage, I'm the oldest of four. I'm from my first marriage, I have a sister, so I'm the second of five, but the oldest of five or six. I don't know how many my dad had. I just
you moved up in the rankings either way when your dad got remarried.
Yeah, I'm in the mix. But anyway, I'm number one from my mother. I'm number one.
Okay.
And so I was always taught responsibility, follow authority, learn, work hard, grind it out, etc. Whatever you do the best at it. So my Sunday school teacher and the lady who picked us up for church was in charge of the Christmas play. So she says, "You're in the play." She goes, "I already asked your mother." And my mom, of course, was like, "Get them out of the house. Get the kids away." If she had a free Thursday night for 3 hours, she took it. She'd get the kids out. We come home, we'd eat, we'd come home, we'd go to bed. It's like, because it was right, church, whatever. And then, so I've been doing little plays, church plays, little theater stuff since 46 years. But the professional acting, back in 2015, October 2015, I was listening to the radio, and there was an announcement for an audition. They're like, "Do you want to get into acting?" And with my voice, and people were like, you should become a voice actor. You should do radio. You should do this. And they said that back in 1992. It took me a while to get there, but I got there. And so I was listening to radio, and I was like, "Nah, turn it off." Well, an hour later, the same thing come on. I was like, "Nah, turn it off." Well, the next day, it came on again, and I went to go turn it off. And I'm not a religious guy, but I'm a Christian. I follow the Bible. So
Mm-hmm.
I pray hard. I pray a lot. I have to, because it's like you deal in public. You got to pray a lot. And I felt this not even a tap, a punch in my chest, and I heard apply, and I went like God just. I went, okay, I got it. So I applied. And then when you're doing the right thing, when you get that gut, that inner voice, God tapping you and whatever, and it turns out right. You're like, you're doing the right thing. So I applied. Next week I had an audition. The next day they said, "We like your energy. We want you to become part of our agency." 2016, I trained. At the beginning of 2017, the very first week, we had a showcase in Kissimmee, just outside of Disney at the hotel, and 2 agents picked me up. They said, "We like your presence, etc." And so since 2017, I've been, first year I only had a couple things. I had a commercial, and I was in background in the new Dynasty show. People are like, "I love Dynasty." I'm like, "Oh, great, whatever." This is not the original Blake Carrington we grew up with, but it's definitely not Joan Collins, that's for sure. And then from there, I just started connecting with people and networking, getting on set and do a couple volunteer movies, and people are like, "Hey, you want to make some money? Do you want to make some, instead of doing volunteer, you want to make some money?" Yeah. So they connected me with all these websites and agencies and casting directors, and since then, it's been an ebb and flow, as far as amount of work, because it's a grind, just like anything else. For some pieces, there was one movie I competed with 10,000 people for a role. They said 10,000 people applied for this one role for, I think it was Black Mafia Family or something. Anyway, and it's 16,000 on another role. It's like, jeez, okay. Because when the pay is $800 a day, you're like, oh, I think that's a little more than teaching. So so I got into it, and then since then I've been Babe Ruth in a movie, and the kid who only had homers. I've been in 35 movies, 10 commercials, a bunch of short films, and that's just opened the door, and that got me prepared for, as well as doing radio. So yeah, and then even today I said I would never do a Hallmark film again, and I'm in a Hallmark film. So.
Is it a Hallmark Christmas movie, Joe?
It sure is.
Oh no!
Yes, it is. It is. And I was like, no, but then I went in just to be background.
Okay.
And some communication. So anyways, I ended up getting promoted to be the dad with a couple lines. I was like, I got a couple lines. And now whether or not they keep those lines, they were talking about time constraints because it's a made-for-TV movie. It'll be out in a year. It's called Rekindled. No, I have a very small part, and it was fun though. We got to, when we were filming last night and today and last week, at least last night, we got to dance. So I'm out there dancing with my acting wife, and good time. And then the DJ, and I don't know if they're going to put this in the movie. I doubt it, but the DJ played Wobble, and yeah, I know how to do that dance, so I did it. And those recordings, and then the whole film crew pulled up their cameras and started recording, and I went, oh no, they might put this on the movie.
You might be all right. So you're going to go from teacher to actor to Wobble guy.
Yeah, the Wobble guy. But and then like a year and a half ago, I got connected with a guy named Ralph Romeo and his wife Cynthia on Facebook, and they offered up. They said, "Does anybody want to do a 1-hour radio show?" They just put it up there, and I applied. I was one of 4 guys that applied, and they're like, "We like your voice, we like your demeanor. We'll give you a 4-week trial." Well, here we are a year and a half later, and I'm still going. So.
And this is a New York radio station, right?
New York radio, yeah. WPAT 930 AM. I was on Wednesday nights. Now I'm back. Now I'm on Tuesday nights from 6 to 7 p.m. talking about any and everything under the sun. Of course, we're talking about Christmas is getting close, so my Christmas Eve and my Tuesday nights probably won't be live. It'll probably be recorded because when my show comes on at 6, our church has the 6 o'clock Christmas Eve service. I'm going to be there because, family and friends and so forth, but I'm going to have a recording and I'll be, but I talk about anything, and I mean, like last week I was talking about the drones and yeah. So, yeah.
Do people call in or it's just you guys?
They text in, they text me. Some people send messages over Facebook. When I do live, I got to get back to it, but I've done Facebook Live where I put it up there and I'll talk to them. Of course, I'm on the computer. I'm going through New York City. They said it's about 100,000 people listening. I'm like, okay, audience of 100K. All right, if you're going to take time to listen to this madness, all right, I'll give it to you. And since it's through New York, I try to, I do a big focus, obviously, on New York and the issues they're facing, because what do we hear about? We hear constantly New York makes the national news, obviously, for, whatever, if it's immigration, if it's the drones in Jersey and things like that. So I'm like, all right, Jersey, what's going on over there? Where's your drones? And then lo and behold, after I do the show, this past Sunday night, before I recorded this past Sunday night, a drone went over my house. And I was like, what the heck? But it wasn't a military drone. It was just a regular drone that you can buy at the store. And somebody was flying it in circles. So I was like, if I had my BB gun.
I'm surprised like no one's shot them down or at least caught them with a net or something like that.
Well, it's Florida. Let's just say, well, I think in Jersey somebody did try to shoot it down, and there was one that actually crashed. But that drone, I saw the size of that looked military grade, at least federal government grade. This one looked like It's probably as big as the table with it. Not even that. I don't know. It wasn't that big. Wasn't that? Yeah, probably about as long as the table with its 4 legs and extensions. And I said, you know what? If that drone had gone 5 miles south, it might not have made it because of there are people you know, I'm just saying Florida, but in the South, there are people who don't take kindly to that.
So, with doing all of these different things between acting and the radio and the teaching, I'm sure you get obviously something different from each of those tasks. Do you have a preference out of the 3 of them, or you just like to kind of take it as it comes?
It depends on the day, I guess, the mode. I've done 25 years of teaching. I've got probably 7 or 8 more before I can retire. But I know I'm not going to retire. I'm going to be busy doing something, right? But I like acting, and acting it's a rigorous bit. I mean, I say it's not rigorous. It's not rigorous at all. It's you go on set, and you do the same shots on the different angles, and we call it the hurry up and wait business, where you sit around, and if you've been done any acting, you sit, wait, etc. If you've been on any sets, for all those who've done that, yeah, it's like sit and wait. Okay, all right, this angle, that angle, you're up, your lines, run it again 15 times. Okay. Fortunately, we were blessed with this crew that they're all. One guy was in a guy named Chris Mulkey. He was in Rambo from 1981, First Blood. He was one of the deputies. I think he was the deputy that tried to fingerprint Rambo. I found out he's a musician. So these guys have been doing it for a long time. So they're like, let's go, let's get it done. And they're having fun. And I was like, as long as you have fun at it, like with radio. I only do an hour a week right now. I love the radio because I get on there and I'm like, and I talk, and I'll have guests come on in the future because I do have some guests lined up. But 1 hour goes so fast. It's quick. I was like, okay, we're done. Yeah, shoot. Yeah. But as far as preference, I like the mix. I don't think I would just want to do one thing because because I'm actually working on I'm taking excerpts from all these things, and I'm working on a book as well. So it's going to start out as a fiction thing, to protect the names of the guilty. So the names will be changed for the guilty people. But yeah, just doing a lot of different things, keeping it interesting. That's the focus. If you just do the rigor of one thing over and over. But I would say something like acting and like radio. If I got into full-time radio, I think it would be fun. It would be enjoyable because it's not. It would change day to day, like because life, just the society's in a state of flux. Whereas school, the kids are in a state of flux, and if I'm teaching the same thing for the 10th year in a row, I'm like, okay, I know all the maths. Now what? What do I do with this? I still teach, and I still like teaching the children and giving them information and seeing the new things that come in. And then occasionally I'll find something new to add into the classroom. Like I did last week, I met on set, a guy, a friend of mine. He's a finance guy, and he's got a web page. So I'm like, okay, let's throw that in the mix and amp it up a little bit. But to give and keep it steady flowing, because the kids, sitting still all day is like, that's torture. That's torture. But I just try to keep it interesting. But as far as I think I see myself where I'm shooting for is either full-time acting / radio / because if I get a big enough gig for acting, that'll give me, and then on the downtime, that'll give me time to write a book and do some radio. And I can make it all work just rotate projects. That'll make life interesting. And as far as teaching, and in the mix of that, you can still teach because you're teaching what you're doing, right? So, and then make a little bit more money than public school.
Sure. And it's interesting, because as you're telling me about this, I'm thinking actually those 3 fields, they really kind of leave a door open for reinvention when you think about it. You can kind of change the way you teach, obviously, as long as it's within the curriculum and, you don't get too out there. And, acting, you can pursue different things. You can change your image. And even with radio, formats change. And, if you're willing to go along with that, if you feel that it needs it, then at least you have that option along the way.
Yeah. Because I was looking at different roles I've wanted to play. Well, like teaching, I add different things in. And I find all the resources I can find because it makes time go faster. It does. When the kids hate to work, but at the end, most of them will say, not even right at the end, a couple of them will say, I learned a lot. 5 to 10 years down, the fruition is down the road when they come back and say, hey, everything you taught is true. And I went, imagine that. The teacher knows something.
Yeah, what are the odds?
Imagine that, right? That's what I learned from my father. My dad was actually right, So, yeah, just reinventing. I've had to readjust because I'm always learning. And obviously with the acting field, you go and work with guys who've been in the business 50 years, like Chris Mulkey. Great guy. Love chatting with him. Very talented. And he didn't just act, but he wrote different things, a musician. And I was like, oh, I learned something, I learned something. And he talked about certain things. So, and he talks about, and he told me a little bit about the business, stuff that I've only got a small taste. He's been there 40 years. I'm going to learn from guys like that. And so you have to readjust, remaneuver, because nobody, and even the actors, full-time actors are always in training. They're always making sure they're fresh and they're on top of their game. Like doctors have to read new information. There's a new technology out to help, something so forth. So, but yeah, reinvention, the radio is really, when we talk about reinventing every week to make sure that radio show is not dry. Oh Lord. So, I'll go through 9 different character voices in an hour. And, like, hey man, what's going on over here? And I'll say, hey Jimmy, like I'm talking to somebody, and then I'll say, I'm not schizophrenic. I'm just making characters. So,
now, for a guy who's played Babe Ruth already, is there any role that you wish that you've had? Like you have a dream role?
I do have a dream role. Actually, now I think about it. My dream role was to be a detective on like something like a New York show. Or be the mobster on the other side, but the detective, because I've got you have to, when you talk about acting and being improv, as a teacher, I have to act. I'm acting constantly. That doesn't bother me. And then on the inside, I'm like, man, I'm going to knock this kid out. But you got to have self-control. It's like, no, that's not the right, one thing might say another, that devil angel thing. Like, do you? And the kids will say, "Do you hate us?" I'm like, I don't hate you. I don't.
Not today.
Not today. I just don't like your behavior, And I still, and the push is still to push through. But improving, and I always said, I've never learned to talk so much trash since I became a teacher. Like my father used to talk smack. He was always riding me and making jokes and stuff. And we do that in class. We have our little roast battles, and our kids will say a statement, and I'll kick it right back. So I think that would help, and that would help it's helped me actually in my acting and my radio. So it all kind of intertwines. But yeah, I want to be because I know they're shutting down Blue Bloods. It's like in the last season, and I was like, that's a great show. I would like to be the detective, kind of like Vincent D'Onofrio was on Law and Order. He's just so, and he was like out there, like people, it was different. I said, yeah, I want to be that guy. And or Lenny Briscoe when Jerry Orbach was on Law and Order, and he always had a quick, every time they had the first few minutes, he always had that last line at the end, right before the commercial. It's like, I want to do that. And it's just because I have the jackets, I have the build. Like I said, it's either let me be the detective, the chief, or the captain, I guess, or let me Tim Allen's Last Man Standing. Love the show, and it's like, let me be that guy. So just the trash talker. or the mafia guy. Let me be the bad guy in a series, like in was that Chicago Story from the mid '80s, with Dennis Farina. All good stuff. Just look back at all those shows and say, those are some dream roles for me.
Okay. So before I let you go, you want to let everybody know tell them about your radio show, where they could hear you, and if you've got an upcoming thing that maybe they should keep an eye out for.
Sure. Okay. So the radio show is on It's Tuesday nights from 6 to 7 p.m. It's WPAT930am.com. Remember, it's going to be Eastern time, so you have to be patient with the first 3 minutes because it's the announcements, and then I get 57 minutes. As far as anything coming out, you can actually catch The Kid Who Only Hit Homers. It's still on Amazon Prime. It's been out a couple years, but you can see me as Babe Ruth in the movie. You just rent it for a couple bucks. It's a nice family film for the holidays, something to watch and to get ready for preseason and next spring. And next year, I have the only thing I got coming up. Next year, I got a small scene, a couple scenes, and the movie called Rekindled, but that's going to be probably on Hallmark TV. Hallmark around Christmas, but I'm thankful for the opportunity. And they told me there's more projects this year, so I'm filming a short film, and you can catch my reel on imdb.com. Just put in Joe Ray, Joeray, and you'll see this big head and can't miss it.
All right, so he's not going to be the guy who's lost his love for Christmas, who has to move to another town, but he just might be in that movie.
I'm just in the movie. Nobody's leaving town. It follows one of the formulas of Hallmark, but it's what makes it sweet. It's a cute film. It's a cute movie.
Mr. Joe Ray, thanks a lot for coming on the show.
Appreciate it, Jim. Appreciate it.
Be a rebel. Follow the show at Sherpa-lution on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
A very special thanks to Joe Ray for coming by the show, Joe. This was so much fun. And be sure to check him next year when all those Hallmark movies come out, and he'll be in there. You'll see them. And maybe if you're one of his students, you'll be seeing him a little bit more sooner than expected. If you enjoy the show, you know what you can do. Just follow me on Sherpa-lution in all the social apps. Have a little bit of a change, and you can hear me on Facebook, Instagram, and Blue Sky. I'm no longer on X or Twitter or whatever else they're calling it this week. I just decided, let's do a little switch. And I've heard a lot of nice things about Blue Sky, and I'm trying it out. So if you're trying out Blue Sky, please follow me, and don't forget to say hi while you're out there. Or you can say that as well on any of the other apps that I'm on. Also, Sherpa-lution. Again, that is the word that you need. And you can hear this on podcast apps everywhere, where you are probably listening right now, or the Sherpa-lution YouTube page, which is at Sherpa-lution 5000, which I believe will take you right there. But if you just look up Sherpa-lution on YouTube, I will be there with lots of shows. I think there's almost like 200 videos that are on there, but no video, it's just audio, so you're welcome. Trust me. Now, speaking of the YouTube channel, this is really interesting and heartwarming. I just was fascinated by this. I got an email stating that this person is following me now, and she goes by the YouTube name of The Amazing Jenna. And I'm going to read you the description. Tell me if this doesn't move you at all. The Amazing Jenna Lamond is her name. The Amazing Jenna is the sole survivor of triplet girls and was born at only 23 weeks. She weighed 1 pound 6 ounces at birth and had only a 10% chance of survival. However, no one told Jenna that, and she is an inspiration. She is legally blind, autistic, mentally challenged, and has cerebral palsy. She has never had a music lesson and plays everything by merely listening to it. She has been playing since she was an infant and before she could walk or talk. Her personality will win you over, and she is a little package of sunshine. I find that so cool. Jenna, thank you so much for following me, and I believe I followed you right back. And we will check out some of your music videos, and I like to encourage some of our listeners to head on over there as well and check her out and leave a nice word for her. I'm sure that'll really make her day to know that people are supportive of her. Jenna, way to go. Super proud of you. And to you and all of you listening out there, I say, Viva the Sherpa-lution. Let's get out of here, Lord Mr. Bruce. See you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Sherpa Screening Room. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review, and share this podcast. I'm Mr. Bruce, and this has been a Sherpa-lu Studios production. Viva la Sherpa-lution!